And God said, "Let there be
The
light."
Lord says, "Let my people go."
I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
This is the Talkin' Bible podcast.
Hello, folks. We're talking Bible today with Jeannie, Schwarz, and Rohan Bell. Did I get it the right way around?
I think you meant to say Talkin' Bible with Rohan Bell.
It says on here behind me with Rohan Bell, but I kind of feel like weird. It's like that's about me. We're talking about the Bible.
Yes. Talkin' Bible.
And I'm talking
with Rohan Bell.
Yeah, you're talking with Rohan Bell.
And my guest is Jeannie Schwarz.
Okay, so that's why you're the producer, Jeannie. Hello, folks. We're talking Bible with Rohan Bell. And my guest today is Jeannie Schwarz. How did I do?
Thank you. That was perfect.
That was perfect. And we're talking about our favourite, most visited chapter in our podcast conversations.
It literally is.
I think we're on number 4, Jeannie.
I think 4 times we have talked about this.
4 times in John 4.
Yeah. I was worried. It's like, oh, what can I pull out of this story?
Is there something more you can find today?
Yeah. And I did say, I think on the very first time, this is one of my favourite chapters. But it's wearing thin.
It's wearing thin after having 4 podcast episodes about it.
Yes.
So, folks, we're talking about John 4, the famous story of the woman, the Samaritan woman meeting Jesus at the well in Samaria and Jesus interacting with her in a way that is quite extraordinary.
Why is it extraordinary?
For a whole number of reasons. One is that...
List them.
Okay, here we go.
You should know this very well.
We should know by now, shouldn't we? So, number 1, Jesus went out of his way to go to Samaria. They wouldn't normally go there in the first place. So he was on a mission to do something.
And Samaria is where?
Samaria is in the middle of the north of Israel. And it's sort of in between Galilee and Judea. But it was a group of Samaritans. They were kind of like half-bred Jewish people. So they weren't pure blood Jews. So normally Jews would stay away from there.
It's such a funny thing to say,
half-bred,
pure-blood.
I know, it's just so foreign. But to them, in their culture, it was huge. The Jewish people, their bloodline was so important, and it still is, but deeply, deeply important, which led to a lot of this cultural elitism that the Jews had that Paul deals with. Anyway, back to my story.
Keep going.
So 1, Jesus wouldn't normally go through Samaria to get between Galilee and Judea. Number 2, this woman was, Jesus was talking to her on his own, which was culturally inadvisable at best.
Why is that?
Men usually didn't talk to women without others around.
Rabbis certainly didn't talk to women.
Rabbis certainly didn't talk to women, yep. So there's that. 1 is that she is at the well on her own in the middle of the day, which is because she is a bit of an outcast from her own community, because women would go to the well in the cool of the day, in the morning or the evening. Clearly because she's lived a life of, I guess, disrepute, been multiply married and had different men. She's obviously known by that and probably shunned by the other women in the town. So
which is exposed in the story.
Exactly. So that's why he's there in the middle of the day. And Jesus has this very strange conversation with her where he gets into this confusing conversation about water and whether she should drink from him or he should drink from her and all of that kind of stuff. But, it's quite a profound story at multiple levels.
Did he intend to go to this well?
So it says at the beginning of the story, it says in verse 4 of John 4, he had to go through Samaria on the way because he's leaving Jerusalem, he's leaving Judea and going to Galilee. And it says he had to go through Samaria, which is interesting because he didn't have to. He would normally avoid it. Jews would normally avoid it and follow the Jordan River Valley rather than the hill country. 1, because it's a flatter road, even though it's slightly longer. It'd be easier to go down to Jericho and then follow the river, walk up the river north. That was 1 reason that they would normally go that way. But 2, they would avoid Samaria because they didn't get on with some Samaritans.
So the word had to go. Can I assume by using that term, it means that he had to go and do something?
Yeah, I think that's how John wants you to read it.
He had to make a point?
Yeah, I think that's when John's used that word. And we skip over it because we assume that, they had
divinely appointed.
Divinely appointed.
As in God wanted this moment to happen.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's what John expects you as he's writing it to realise, that this was Jesus going out of his way to do something significant.
Okay. And so he sent his disciples off to go find food in the town, and he's waiting by the well. And this only appears in John, right?
Yes, it does. Only in John.
Okay, so not in the other
Gospels.
None
of the other Gospels have this story.
So he's waiting by the well for this woman to come along. And it starts off, and it says, it's not found in the Gospel. Yes. Okay. Reading my notes, getting back.
Go.
Where do I start? Everyone who drinks... No. Where does this start?
About verse... you're talking about the conversation?
Yeah.
About verse 7, if you start there.
I don't think I've copied the whole thing. Oh,
Okay.
sorry
I'll
about
read
that.
it for you.
Do
It's
you
all
have
right.
it?
Yeah. So verse. Oh, let's go back up to verse 5. It says, eventually he came to the Samaritan village of Sychar, near the field that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired from the long walk, sat wearily beside the well about noontime. Soon a Samaritan woman came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, please give me a drink. And he was alone at the time because his disciples had gone into the village to buy some food. You want me to keep going? Read the story?
Yeah, just keep going, Bill. Yep.
The woman was surprised, for Jews refused to have anything to do with Samaritans. And she said to Jesus, you're a Jew and I'm a Samaritan woman. Why are you asking me for a drink? And Jesus replied, if you knew the gift of God that God has for you and who you are speaking to, you would ask me and I would give you living water. But sir, you don't have a rope or a bucket, she said, and this well is very deep. Where would you get this living water? And besides, do you think you're greater than our ancestor Jacob who gave us this well? How can you offer better water than he and his sons and his animals enjoyed? And Jesus replied, anyone who drinks the water here will soon become thirsty again. But those who drink the water that I give will never be thirsty again. It becomes a fresh, bubbling spring within them, giving them eternal life. Please, sir, the woman said, give me this water. Then I won't need to ever be thirsty again, and I won't have to come here to get water. Go and get your husband, Jesus told her. I don't have a husband, the woman replied. Jesus said, you're right, you don't have a husband, for you've had 5 husbands, and you aren't even married to the man you're living with now. You certainly spoke the truth. Sir, the woman said, you must be a prophet. Tell me, so why is it that you Jews insist that Jerusalem is the only place to worship, while we Samaritans claim it is here at Mount Gerizim where our ancestors worshipped? And Jesus replied, believe me, dear woman, the time is coming when it will no longer matter whether you worship the Father on this mountain or in Jerusalem. You Samaritans know very little about the one you worship, while we Jews know all about him, for salvation comes through the Jews. But the time is coming, indeed it's here now, when the worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. The Father is looking for those who will worship him in that way, for God is spirit, so those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. And the woman said, I know the Messiah is coming, the one who is called Christ. When he comes, he will explain everything. And Jesus said, I am the Messiah. Then his disciples came back.
Okay, you just
Stop there?
Yeah.
Okay. I was looking at you to see whether or not you wanted me to stop.
Oh, I just was enjoying your reading.
Thank you.
That is a long story.
It is a long story.
Yeah, and we're talking
it's so confusing. There's so many
things. Yeah.
so much of it's Jesus, but there's just all these interactions going on and different nuances in the story.
Yeah, there's theology,
Yep.
there's living water.
Yep.
There's
worshipping on certain
religion.
mountains and all kinds of
Yeah.
religious beliefs, ethnic beliefs. Yeah, it's very lot going on in this story.
And we're talking red letter Bible. So this podcast this year is about
Stuff that Jesus says,
So
the
the
stuff that's
red
in red
letters.
in your Bible.
So in this chapter, there's a lot of red.
Yep,
So you do have to spend a lot of time reading and thinking over
Yep.
it.
it sure is.
There's one thing, though, that I didn't notice before. You mentioned, or we maybe both of us mentioned, how Jesus was a rabbi and he still stopped and talked to this woman. Have you ever given thought to the fact that he asks her for a drink?
Have I given thought to that?
Tell me, if you were a Jewish rabbi, didn't you have to do certain things to be clean?
I see.
And many things could make you unclean. If you touched a dead body, you were
sure.
unclean. If you were something, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I would imagine a Jewish rabbi would not be able to accept a cup that has been handled by a Samaritan woman.
Yes.
If that's where you're going. Yes, I hadn't thought about that before.
Because that would make him religiously
Ceremonially
unclean.
Yep, I reckon that's a valid point. Yep.
He just says, give me a drink.
Yeah,
He's
well,
not
they
afraid
wouldn't even, he wasn't even afraid to speak with her or ask her for a drink, yes.
I find that really weird. And we don't actually know whether he actually did have a drink.
We don't get that
Doesn't
far in the
state
story,
that.
do we? No.
But we assume that if he was thirsty and that
Yeah,
she did give him a drink.
Yeah, that's right.
And she would have known that, though.
Yeah, well, that's maybe part of the amazement. Why are you talking to me? For Jews don't talk to Samaritans. So, yeah, maybe that's part of the amazement of it all.
He was willing to sort of defile himself in the eyes of the religious.
Absolutely he was. Regularly
Laws?
Jesus did that.
Is he defying God's laws here?
No, good question. Because that's what the Pharisees thought that Jesus was doing constantly. Like when he touched lepers and multiple times where Jesus does things that seem to break the Mosaic law, where he would become unclean. And I think the narrative is Jesus is trying to, first of all, show that those laws are written to illustrate a deeper purpose. They show us something about us and they show us something about God. That's how we're to interpret the Mosaic law. And secondly, to show that Jesus is, rather than the uncleanliness of the world getting on Jesus. It's the cleanliness of Jesus getting on the world. So this woman who he touches, this leper who he grabs and holds on to, is healed. So rather than stuff getting on him, he gets on others.
Okay.
Who is this man? That's a
I
powerful thing.
appreciate what you're saying, but I've always heard this statement: Jesus took the sins upon him in the world.
Yeah, on the cross.
On the
yes.
cross, sorry.
Yes, he did, yes. He took the sins of the world upon himself on the cross.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're saying, how do those two reconcile? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Jesus, on the cross, Jesus is dealing with the problem of sin in the world, that thing that makes us all unclean. And in order to deal with it, he has to absorb it into himself and then defeat it.
Should I think of that as burdens more than sin? He takes all the burdens of the world?
Yeah, you pick your word. Brokenness, blackness, darkness, selfishness, sinfulness, all of those things that make us humans broken. He absorbed the power of sin into himself on that cross. But even then, he absorbed it in, and then his ultimate cleanliness killed the sin. It became clean. It was defeated on the cross. So the power of God was greater than the power of darkness, or we talked about yesterday's episode, the demon's forces. Jesus' authority was greater than that. So the rabbis were concerned about being unclean. That's why they wouldn't talk to this woman. That's why they would walk on the other side of the road around the man who'd been beaten. It took the Samaritan to come and do that in the parable of the Good Samaritan. They were worried about getting unclean. Jesus was going, nothing can touch me. Nothing can make me unclean. I'm going to bring my cleanliness to a world. I left heaven to come here to bring my cleanliness to those around me. It's upside down.
It is upside down.
But it shows his power and his authority.
And here he literally drinks from her cup.
Yeah.
He is literally not taking saliva, I suppose.
Well, I guess so.
He's touching the uncleanliness.
Yes, he is.
He's not afraid of the uncleanliness.
No. That's amazing to me. This is Jesus at his best, defying the religious expectations to show how great his love and compassion is.
Yeah, okay. So we're searching for Jesus. That's why we're talking about this. Who is this man, Jesus? Who is this guy, this rabbi? Like, you imagine just meeting him, okay? And you're a woman and you'd be freaking out that he's there, thinking what's going to happen. Not only is he willing to talk to you, he is engaging with you. He is taking on your uncleanliness willingly by sipping your cup.
Isn't that extraordinary?
Yes.
We Christians could learn from Jesus.
It's a good way to start a conversation with someone.
It is.
Let me come down to your level.
Yeah, great. Well said. Yeah, let me get where you're at.
Yeah, because she would have known after this, being a rabbi, he would have to go and go through water, right?
Theoretically, he would have had to have done a
clean.
whole bunch of stuff to become quote unquote ceremonially clean again. Yeah, if he wanted to do it from a religious perspective. And yet I suspect he wasn't unclean. He couldn't be unclean. It had no effect on him, but his effect is clearly on the woman. She is transformed by this story. We didn't get to that part, but she runs back into town and says, here's a man who told me everything I ever did, and she brings about a revival in her town. That is a woman who has been unclean, finding cleanliness by meeting Jesus.
And that's what I wanted to talk about. This story points to a man who is not afraid to get personal with someone.
Thank you, Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
And he really does. And she goes back, as you just said, she doesn't say, look at the Messiah I just met, because he does declare that he's the Messiah. She goes back and recounts what he has done for her.
Come and see a man who told me
everything I ever did. And in one of the other podcasts that we did, I asked you the question, how does somebody know Christ, or something along these lines? I never get things right, what I say. But essentially, do you need to have an encounter with Jesus where he touches you personally before you're aware of your own sinfulness? Was that what I was talking about?
Yes, that's what you're talking about. Whether or not at what point do we experience Jesus? Is it enough to have him heal us or fix a marriage or, provide for some area of need in our world? Or do we need to be aware of our own sinfulness? You were saying that, and I think my answer was it's a bit of both. I just would say that what is most important, that if it is as a result of Jesus doing something physical for us in our world, provision or healing or whatever, it shouldn't stop there. If it stops there, we'll limit ourselves. This woman used this encounter and she recognized that Jesus was speaking into her life and pointing at stuff. But I think that the point was she experienced she experienced acceptance from Jesus. Maybe that's the best way to put it. Even though he's pointing out, the brokenness of her life, 5 marriages and all that sort of stuff. He's pointing at that, but
he doesn't judge her
he's not judging for it
or condemn her.
And that's not only is he not doing that, the fact that he's talking to her, the fact that he's interacting with her, the fact that he's asking her for a drink is acceptance. It's radical acceptance in that culture. So then when she sees that he knows her story, he knows the depths of her heart, and he's still prepared to show this acceptance. That's huge. That's what was transforming to her, I think.
Yeah, because they have that intellectual conversation, and then he just has that arrow straight to her
that's
heart.
Right. And now she's already found, here's a man who I'm not expecting to talk to me at all. It's just spent the last however many minutes talking to me. And what? He actually knows all about my story. I expected if he is the Son of God and he knows my story, he would have stayed away from me. He wouldn't have come here. He should have said, oh, there's that woman. I'm not going near her. But the fact is, he's interacted with me for the last 10 minutes, showing me his love and acceptance. And now I find out that he actually cares. He knows my story. That's pretty amazing. That shows me that she would have been transformed by this man deep in her heart. And she rushes back, transformed, because he's a man who's changed my heart. He's a man he's giving me acceptance. So much so that a town that hasn't even accepted her, there's something convincing about her now that they come out. And this is a town who doesn't accept her. Her testimony about Jesus' acceptance is so magnetic that now the rest of the town accept her enough to come with her out to meet Jesus.
She sounds a bit like the first evangelical person out there.
It's like the first evangelist.
Yes.
It is incredible. She's a pure evangelist here. And she is actually. Come and See is one of the, we're using that in our Hope for the Little Warra meetings that are coming up at the end of March here about come and see Jesus. But this woman says that, come and see it. Verse 29, come and see a man who told me everything I ever did.
It's come and see a man who has done something to me.
Yeah.
Done something also for me, because by drinking of the cup, he has met her at his level. I say it again, a great way to start a conversation.
Yeah.
He came to her level straight away.
Where she was at.
Yeah. And then they had the long conversation. But I just can't get over the fact that even though he says, I am the Messiah, she goes back and speaks about the personal interaction that she had with him. Yeah.
And John's gospel's big on this. I think it's like each of John's miracles are encounters.
He's addressed himself as the Messiah as well, by the way.
Yeah, that's right, it is. And he's doing that in John's gospel. He doesn't do that in the other gospels. So John's addressing these encounters all the way through. So it's the first time Jesus addresses himself as the Messiah. However, he's already introduced as the Messiah by Philip to Nathanael in a couple of chapters before. Come and see the Messiah. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? So that's when they recognized there was something about that. But once again, it's come and see, come and see. So you see this all the way through. Here's someone who's changed my life. Come and see him. The blind man. Here's someone who, I didn't know I could see, but now I can. All the way through. Lazarus. All the miracles are all about come and see, because Jesus has done something in my life. Now, people are coming from all over to visit Bethany because they're coming to see Lazarus, who they knew was dead, alive again. All the way through. John's big on this theme of come and see.
I love that perspective that you put on it, because for many people will think that the idea of go and make disciples in the world is about spreading the ideology, or colonialism even. Mm-hmm. But in fact, at the heart of it is come and see this person that has transformed me. Yep. And therefore I am so transformed and full of joy. I actually want you to come and see.
That's it, Jeannie.
Not the idea of, hey, I want to spread my religion to control you.
Yep,
it's actually come and see because he set me free.
He's changed my life, and I want
you
you to experience what I've experienced. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, that's very different to the idea of Bible bashing, isn't it?
Oh, totally. It's invitational rather than confrontational. It's come and see what this Jesus who has changed me, and I'm so excited and grateful for what he's done in me. I want you to experience it too.
After this story, you read that the disciples return and they're cranky that he's been talking to a woman, and then you read that they have food for him, but he's no longer hungry. And what does he say? Something like,
I have food to eat that you know nothing about, is his answer.
Yes. So that implies that his conversation and his experience with this woman and how her life has changed has fed him. It's filled him up.
Sustained him, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he starts with hunger. He sends them in because he's hungry and he's tired, and yet you don't see any of those at the end, which I think is indicative of how we all find a supernatural strength. When we are doing God's will, it can be sustaining to us. I mean, one of the things I've loved over the last couple of years is this podcast. I've been through some challenging times in the last few years, but being able to come here, and sometimes I come in tired, like, because it takes a few hours, especially if you're interviewing me. We come in tired, but I always find that talking Bible sustains me. It recharges me because I feel like what God has trusted me with is blessing other people. That's sustaining, and that's what Jesus is experiencing here.
Yeah, I find that too. Every time I come in here, I think, oh, I can't do this. This is terrible. I make such a fool of myself. I can't do this. I don't want to talk about this. All these negative things. But then I leave and I think, I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Like I actually learnt something and I enjoy talking Bible.
Yeah.
Because who else am I going to do it with? Not my friends. They'd be
going, you talk
yeah,
Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk Bible on your own.
Yeah, that's right. There is something about this story as well that I don't know we talked about before. Are you familiar with the stories in the Bible of Rebecca?
Yes. Story. Yep. Go ahead.
Where was she met?
At the same well.
Where was Rachel met?
Hang on, which one was met? Yes, Rebecca was met at this well. Well, this is Jacob's well, so...
Not just any well.
Yes, at
They're
a well.
all
Yes. They're all
at
met
a
wells.
well.
Yes, yep.
Rachel, Jethro's daughter, they all met with husbands,
At
and
wells.
good husbands, and they were actually Isaac, Jacob, and Moses.
Yes, they're all motifs that get
Yeah.
collected multiple times.
And here we have a story about another woman meeting a pretty special man at the well too.
Great.
I didn't realise
I
those.
hadn't thought that through.
No,
Yeah,
had you?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. Only because the Bible Project have helped me out to see that motif
Oh,
appear
right.
multiple times. Otherwise, I wouldn't have thought of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's almost like a marriage takes place here. This is that Jesus, the bridegroom, is meeting this woman and in not a physical marriage, but a spiritual union
Yeah.
coming
And
into place.
think about the people going to these women going to collect water. They're often collecting water for the family.
Mm-hmm.
And so their siblings and things, and it's part of their duty.
Yep.
They go and they collect this water, yet they are met at the well and their lives are transformed and they are blessed with something special to them.
Yes.
A husband, Moses
Yes.
and things,
Yep.
and their
Zipporah
life is transformed.
And Rebecca. And Rebecca's is particularly pertinent. It's quite a contrast to this woman who's really she does give Jesus a drink of water. But, so maybe there is a similarity, but when we see Rebecca at the well, she says to Abraham's servant, she says, drink the water and I'll water your camels too. And that's like a significant act of kindness on her part. It's pure hospitality because she's walking down into this well. It's not draw the bucket. She's walking down into this well through steps, up and down. I haven't done the stats for some time, but it's a lot of water to water camels.
Yeah, we actually did talk about that.
Yeah, so there's this extravagant sense of generosity and kindness this woman shows, and then she gets her blessing. And so maybe there's a little bit of that in this, that Jesus asks her for water.
And notice as well, he finds her.
Yeah, he went.
She
looking for
doesn't
her.
find him.
No, that's right. He goes looking for her. Yeah, good thought.
It's strange that he finds her.
Well, he had to go.
He
I
had
reckon
to.
he had to. He had to go to meet her. He knew he was on a mission.
And reading this over again, I was thinking about the differences in this story to the story of Jesus speaking with Nicodemus.
Mm-hmm.
What happens in that story?
Nicodemus finds him in the middle of the night, and he says, "You need to be born again." That's what part are you talking about in specifically?
Well, just he goes looking for Jesus, and
Yep.
they have this conversation, which is a long conversation,
and it's also a cryptic conversation as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
and Nicodemus walks away empty-ish.
Empty-ish. Yes, he's had an encounter, but he hasn't had a transforming encounter at this point.
Not like
No,
she has.
Not like she has. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's something about her openness that Nick can't get past his own. He's trying to seek the answers, but maybe there's more religious
Yeah, who is
baggage in the way.
Who is Nicodemus?
Well, he's a significant teacher, Israel teacher, probably like the university professor is the best way to describe him. So he's very well respected, very well learned in the Jewish scriptures, etc. And he's a woman who doesn't know anything. She doesn't even have a worship understanding of Judaism, correct? And she's not got it all together. Neither is Nick. That's the thing. Nick thinks he's got it all together.
Yeah,
and
Nick,
Jesus is showing
yes.
him to be born again. You're just as broken as the woman at the well
Yeah.
in the next chapter, because this is one chapter after that story.
And there's similarities in the sense that when Jesus was speaking figuratively, they both take it literally.
Yes, that's true.
So
Yep.
their intellectual abilities aren't able to understand what Jesus is discussing. Yet, she's touched by him. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that he came down to her level.
Yep.
As well as I'm a rabbi just speaking to you, but by taking the cup, sharing the drink together of
Good
water,
point.
and then discussing the living water that he can offer. And then he leads her on that intellectual journey. And then he reveals to her who she is without condemnation.
So a great pattern for how to do evangelism. If you
Yeah.
like, meet people at their level, don't come on heavy straight away, engage them in conversation, show acceptance and love. I think that we probably could do well to have that kind of evangelistic attitude, I think.
And I think Nicodemus, he wanted to know who this guy was. He wanted the answers, but he wanted them to fit into his idea of what those answers should be. And he wasn't ready. His heart wasn't ready to be transformed. And so I think John is using these two stories in his gospel to show the difference of a heart that's not ready
That's great. Well
and
put.
a heart that is ruled by the intellect
Yep.
and wanting things to be answered the way he wants them to be.
Yep.
Whereas a woman who is so shocked by Jesus' compassion and humanity, she can't help but be transformed. And that's why she says, come and see what he did. Like, she is so touched by
So
him.
she's been touched at a radically personal heart level, as opposed to Nicodemus trying to figure it out at a head level, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah,
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yeah, and that leads me back to thinking about how the unexplained supernatural things in our life can lead us to Christ in a way that we would not expect. Like, for example, if my brother was raised beside me, we talked about Lazarus before, I couldn't answer that intellectually,
No.
but I could talk about that, how that made me feel. And so my question to you is, should we expect rather Jesus to meet us personally?
Yes. John 4 shows me how far out of the way Jesus is prepared to go to meet someone. We should expect that Jesus has come a long way to meet us. He ultimately has left heaven, and he would have done it just for Jeannie. So he's prepared to come a long way. He crosses the Sea of Galilee to meet one man who's demon-possessed and broken and hurting and an outcast in his own area. Heals him, delivers him, gets in the boat and goes straight back over the other side. Jesus will go out of his way to meet you. So wherever you're at, you might feel like Jesus doesn't care, but these stories show the reckless love. That song says there's no mountain he won't climb up, no something he won't break down, no wall he won't break down. His reckless love. I love that song for that reason, because it shows and reminds me how deep Jesus is willing to go, how far he's willing to go, what he's willing to go through to meet me in my need.
Yeah, and it shows that his saving love, like, it knows no limitations.
Yes.
I've written here, it transcends all barriers of race, gender, ethnicity, and religious tradition.
Amen.
Now, in contrast to human love, divine love is indiscriminate and all-encompassing. These are not my words. I read
I
this
love
from
that,
somewhere. That Jesus chose to make himself known first only to a Samaritan, but also a woman, was a stinging rebuke to member of Israel's elite, Nicodemus.
Yes, Nicodemus, yes.
Because he didn't say to Nico, I am
No.
the Messiah. He says to her, I am the Messiah.
Yep.
And throw this into the mix. The Messiah was meant to be somebody who would lead a revolution and free the Israelites from their oppression.
Yep.
At this time, it was the Romans.
Yep.
And she would have still thought that. I think
Yes, she would have thought that. Yes, she was
Yet,
expecting that. Yep.
the Messiah who's going to lead a revolution, command all of these huge armies, has taken the time to cross boundaries to share a cup of water
Yeah.
with me.
How good is that? Come on,
Yeah.
Jesus. We love you. Thank you. That's so powerful.
And
And
so-
personal.
Yeah. It is personal, and it's so deeply personal. There's a big part of me that just says, reading this about Jesus is just like, Jesus, just take a step back. I don't know if I'm ready for you to come so close to me, because it sounds frightening. Because if you knew what she had done and you know what I have done, I'm not quite sure we could have this relationship yet. I'm not sure we could be sharing a drink of water.
And yet John 4 shows us that while it's okay to feel that way, Jesus is prepared to push through that and show that radical acceptance.
Yeah, and you just think,
at some point
why?
you've got to go, well, Lord, I don't deserve this, but if that's what you're prepared to do for me, I'm not going to let my own sense of unworthiness stop me from experiencing the love that you're willing to show me. And that's the step of faith that we all need to take. We can spend our entire life finding excuses for why we don't deserve God's love, or we can put those aside and go, I don't deserve it, but God have mercy on me, a sinner, and accept his radical grace and love and begin the journey of discipleship, which changes us so we become more and more like Jesus.
I'm very interested in people's testimonies. I want to know why people accept Christ. I want to know how they've been affected and all those things you were just saying, why they allow that person in. Or,
Jeannie, that could be a podcast in its own right.
I'm just shocked that people open themselves up to this strange character, and they seem to be very benefited. That's not a great way to say that at all, but they seem changed and transformed. And so who is this guy? Like this man, we've said he was kind and compassionate, and he has this scary authority over demons, and yet he takes the time to come to this one person.
And show compassion and kindness and truth in love and all of those things.
And he changes her. So how can this guy in this book
do that?
Change someone.
2,000 years later, he's still changing lives.
That's what I'm interested in, the testimony of that. Fantastic. How has this relationship with Jesus, this strange person, changed you? I
think we need a podcast called Talking Testimony.
We could do that.
Stay tuned. we might come to that. I think that's a great idea, because it is these people's testimonies. Come and see that it's a big part of what will be magnetic to other people.
Yeah, because why didn't she run away when he? What is it about him?
His magnetism
that she wasn't frightened of.
Good point.
She came close.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, I feel like we're just getting started. Let's go to the next chapter, because I'm gobsmacked by this character.
All right. We'll talk about Jesus some more tomorrow. Talk to you then.